Hi, Ed Murphy here from Green Tech HQ, an innovation centre set up in Enniscorthy, County Wexford, with a focus on sustainability and climate change, bringing together entrepreneurs, bringing together innovators, bringing together community, corporate businesses, funders, all to work on solutions to the effects of climate change and greenhouse gas emissions. Delighted to be part of a program called the Climate Accelerator with Trinity Tangent. And I straight away, I'd like to say hello to Breandán Goss from Tangent Trinity. Breandán, you might tell me a little bit about Tangent within Trinity and yourself and how you got involved.
Hi Ed, thank you very much for having me, for indulging me. Tangent in Trinity. Tangent was established effectively as a form of aggregation of existing innovation activities that were taking place in the university going back about 10 or 12 years. The university in and of itself, and oftentimes in collaboration with other institutions, ran postgraduate innovation education programs for people who were in the professional continuous professional development part of their lives, if you like. So these postgraduate innovation programs or certificates were delivered, and then there were other slices of innovation taking place throughout the university, and at a certain stage it was decided that there should be an amalgamation of that innovation activity. And the unit Tangent was established back in 2017, 2018, with a view to acting as a kind of a funnel through which innovation activity in the sphere of education, particularly professional education, but also in the sphere of entrepreneurship, should take place. So it became a kind of a focal point of engagement between the university and its internal stakeholders, if you like, the schools and the faculties, the researchers, the students, the academics and management. But also it had an external engagement focus, where we would have been involved, or Tangent would lead programs on behalf of Trinity College in the form of collaborations with other institutions outside of, not just outside of Trinity, but outside of Ireland, across Europe and beyond. Yeah. So Tangent has three effective components, if you like, three pillars: the education pillar, the entrepreneurship pillar, and the engagement pillar.
And Ron, Breandán, can I ask you then, whether it's the health or the medical, the sciences, the different areas, do you literally become a conduit to the marketplace for different innovations that are happening in every element or every part of the college? You're the conduit and does it mean that you bring people in who could be, let's say, doing a medical degree or doctorate or whatever, and you bring them in and you might teach them entrepreneurial studies or business planning or marketing or whatever, so you get them closer to the marketplace, let's say? Is that the type of thing you do?
We are effectively facilitators. So yeah. we try to join and bring together disparate strands of all the ingenuity that takes place in the college through the education sphere and the learning sphere, the research outputs and so on. And then I suppose within Tangent we have expertise in terms of being able to look through those research and academic pieces with a commercial lens. Yeah. And that commercial lens, facilitates the introduction of new ideas into the marketplace ultimately. Okay. And that could take the guise of working with individual researchers who get funding from Europe, but who need a little bit of a business focus put upon or added to the kind of research that they're undertaking, or it could come about by engagement with a startup in the health field, in the climate field, manufacturing, digital, whatever it may be. And basically plugging them into a kind of a commercial environment where the validation for that product is discovered or identified, and we can bring them to market. We can introduce them to stakeholders in the marketplace, and that could be potential end users or customers. It could be private or public sector agencies,
Mm.
or indeed it could be other startups. So yeah, we act as a kind of a little hub, if you like, within that innovation spoke of the
No,
university.
it sounds great. It sounds great, and it sounds an idea that its time has come for a college like Trinity to have such a facility. Tell me, Breandán, regarding the accelerators, what is an accelerator, and why do they exist, and why are they important?
Accelerators attempt to do what it says on the tin. They attempt to expedite the commercial development of an idea or of a business. Um, they've taken on different forms and guises over the last 20, 25 years, from the kind of the progenitor of accelerators, which would be the Y Combinator accelerator out of the United States, which traditionally would have focused on technology startups in America, the creme de la creme of those technology startups. And then that model would have been emulated and copied by, not just privately, but by public institutions like universities and other innovation centers globally. So the accelerator itself is a fairly standard framework through which a company will spend time, or within which a company will learn and listen to domain experts, get critical teaching in usually in business focused environments, with a particular focus perhaps on product market fit in particular, understanding the marketplace that the company or the founder or the entrepreneur is attempting to introduce their product or their solution. So ultimately the idea would be to get the startup or the entrepreneur into a space where they become investable, where they become attractive to an investor, where the company can effectively evolve independently of the cocoon that the accelerator provides. And an accelerator is a little bit like a cocoon, where the ideas and the entrepreneurs themselves are nurtured over a period of time. And you could one of the acronym or nicknames, I suppose, for an accelerator is a hothouse environment. That hothouse environment where you're bringing together a hive mind of ideas around innovation, creative approaches to entrepreneurship, technical know-how in terms of developing technical roadmaps as well, particularly for startups with technical focus or technology focus. All of that activity happens in a very kind of rarefied atmosphere for a period of time, and it can be quite intense. But ultimately, the idea is that the participant, the founder, the startup, the entrepreneur, can kind of walk on their own 2 feet at the end of that process, taking with them all of the learnings from that structured environment, if you like.
Mm. And Breandán, I see that Tangent and Trinity have had a lot of collaboration within Europe, and particularly with the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. You might tell me about that and how that is important and why and where it's gone over the last number of years.
I suppose the like all universities in Ireland and throughout Europe, collaboration is critical, and the sharing of ideas and the sharing of knowledge is critical. So an offshoot of the Horizon Europe research program, which is effectively a huge budget line in the European Commission's education research output, if you like, whereby billions of euro are invested across the research and innovation communities throughout the European Union, and beyond, actually, because it's not solely European Union member states that benefit. But one of the vehicles, I suppose, that emanated from Horizon Europe was called the European Institute for Innovation and Technology. Now, it has the nifty little acronym of EIT, so it's missing an I in the acronym for some strange reason. Mm-hmm. But the EIT community then would have evolved across different disciplines, different industry sectors, going back to 2011, 2012. There are a number of different KICs, the so-called KICs, or knowledge innovation communities, which kind of are like strands which come out of, a little bit like jellyfish strands. They come out of the EIT, the body of the EIT, if you like. So we would have strands that focus on health, strands that focus on manufacturing, raw materials, digital activity, urban mobility, and climate in particular. Institutions like ourselves have a choice. We can become members of each of these individual KICs or communities. We pay a kind of an annual fee, a bit like joining a golf club or a gym. And that gives us then kind of an opportunity to get proposals in for funding, which each of these individual KICs will consider for funding and evaluate for funding. Entrepreneurship is a recurring theme across all of those communities, because Horizon Europe obviously takes the view, and the European Commission takes the view, that entrepreneurship is a critical way of making real research that they fund, or ideas that they fund, and enable ultimately or facilitate those ideas in their journey into the marketplace. So entrepreneurship, if you like, would be a kind of a consistent strand across each of those KICs. And within that space then, the entrepreneurship space, agencies like Tangent and institutions like Trinity College come along and offer their expertise with those accelerator frameworks or programs, and bring startups into those programs for periods of time. So we've been active as an institution in a number of those KICs going back 6, 7, 8 years at this stage. I'd say at least 6 or 7 years, and we've run numerous accelerator initiatives. Some of them called boot camps. Okay, boot camps might be just a kind of a shorter, more intense burst of accelerator activity, because usually boot camps are run over 2-month periods, 8-week periods, if you like. So that's an approach that one particular EIT KIC might take. Others, like Climate-KIC, take a longer term view. They prefer a stage gated approach where a larger number of companies will come into an accelerator, but those numbers will be distilled down over about a 7, 8, 9 month period, until you're left with companies that are considered to be the most potentially the most commercially interesting companies, or those that have the most commercially interesting solutions. They will be left at the final kind of group, or the final stage of an accelerator program. But every company that enters in or participates in a program engages actively and ultimately benefits hugely from participation. And I suppose one of the key ingredients within that alchemy, if you like, is the peer-to-peer engagement between startups. And the startups come from, as I mentioned, from throughout Europe. So they have an opportunity to learn about each other's marketplaces, the sensibilities of the Greek market versus the French market, Danish versus Irish, etc. And it's a great way of building and developing bonds between entrepreneurs across Europe as well. So yeah, and ultimately our role is to deliver those kind of accelerator programs to facilitate the companies as they go through them, to work with people who would be considered to be domain experts, and also industry experts, inviting industry participants to come in and give us their view of the world and their perspective of what it's like to be on the other end of the kind of customer journey. If the industry partner is a potential customer or purchaser of a solution, we invite them in to inform startups about what exactly it is that they're looking for, if you like. So we ensure that within those kind of programs that the information is real, it's relevant, it's substantive, it can be applied in the marketplace, and it's not all theoretical or abstract.
Yeah. Tell me, Breandán, the Climate-KIC accelerator, based on the built environment that you're running. First of all, Green Tech HQ are delighted to partner with you with this. But tell me about it in the last few years, or tell me about the program that we're now looking at starting in 2023, and what you're hoping to achieve with it.
Within, I suppose, within the volume, I guess, at this juncture, because we've worked quite a lot and quite intensively with Climate-KIC in particular, EIT Climate-KIC in particular, over the last 5 or 6 years. We began to focus more narrowly on a sector where we felt carbon emissions were out of control, and we didn't have huge visibility over solutions that were helping to help us adapt or mitigate against continual damage being wrought by the construction industry in particular. So I think 38-39% of annual carbon emissions are attributed to the built environment. So about 18 months ago, we took a decision to focus on that particular space. We wouldn't call it niche because of the size and the damage that's associated with it from an environmental perspective. But we felt that there was an opportunity to bring together some brilliant innovations that were evolving, but that might not be getting an opportunity to get a foothold in a marketplace or to get visibility in front of major industry players. So the built environment, in our view of it from a programmatic perspective, is that it isn't just buildings and building materials, it's infrastructure. It's the pipes and the ropes and the cables that come in and out of the building, right? It's the utilities, it's energy, it's grid, it's water management, it's waste management. It's also smart buildings. It's also connectivity. It's also about making buildings efficient and comfortable to live in. Ultimately it's also about justice and a just transition, so to ensure that not only are your buildings efficient, but that it's not just an option for the middle class. It's basically, it should become a prerequisite in terms of how buildings are built or conditioned for future use. So we're trying to future-proof them from a socioeconomic perspective as much as anything else. And we find, I suppose, we have found that industry is very interested in what we're doing and the approach we're taking, because it does offer them then a view of innovation and ideas that they don't necessarily see from a corporate perspective, because they're so absorbed in their daily routine of generating profit for the business. But now with new ESG regulations, new sustainable business objectives from a regulatory perspective, a lot of industry players are being forced now to pay more attention to what's going on. And basically address how they can absorb some of these innovations and bring them on board and work with them and integrate them into the way they do things. So we're talking about a very, very complex environment, obviously, with very complex supply chains and complex value chains. So we thought it was a subject worthy of delving into and shedding a little bit of light on.
Yeah. What type of companies or innovators or entrepreneurs in the last couple of years, and what do you hope to achieve, and the type of companies you hope to attract to the accelerator program this time?
Traditionally, we would have taken a very kind of holistic European view of things. So because of the nature of the funding model and our relationship with Climate-KIC, it's been a multinational engagement, if you like. So companies from across Europe contributing to Europe, I suppose the EU's PLC, if we can call it that, or Europe Inc., let's call it. But really, we're kind of agnostic in terms of jurisdiction now, and we're agnostic in terms of solution, because there is such a diversity of solution and innovation out there to be found and being developed by companies across Europe and internationally, that we want to be as international as we can be within reason. One of the operational challenges, of course, is that we can't be in all places at all times, so that we're going to be delivering a program at a particular time and a particular day, so it might not suit companies from the other end of the world to participate. But nonetheless, we would have the ambition to become international in our reach, and also to welcome companies from throughout the world who have innovations that we feel could be integrated quickly and efficiently in such a way that they could affect change sooner rather than later, because we don't have time, frankly.
Good. Well done, Breandán, and well done what you've done in the past with it. But you looking forward to this new program?
Immensely, yeah. We get a real kick out of working with, bringing together companies who, and it's a reflection a little bit of the startup journey, where many founders feel quite lonely. They feel like they're operating very much on their own and in silos. So you do very quickly generate a great sense of community when you bring together new companies with new ideas. And they take a lot of assurance from the fact that we're part of a very big community of genuinely interested stakeholders who want to see change happen and change happen quickly. So within that firmament, I think the kind of energy that we get, the level of engagement that we get from startups is really really welcome. It's enjoyable to work with for sure and to engage with, and it just makes it it's pleasurable to see these ideas getting the lift that they need and getting the push that they need. I mean, oftentimes, of course, these companies won't succeed where they hope to, but I think as individuals, the founders and the entrepreneurs themselves will still pick up enough in terms of skill sets and a kind of a new awareness of the challenges that face them in that commercial environment, and they'll bring that and those learnings with them to their next venture if it doesn't really specifically work with this one. So that's something that we always kind of keep at the back of our minds, that ultimately you're creating not just a new community of entrepreneurs, but you're creating a new ecosystem of entrepreneurs, people who can bring those skill sets with them into whatever professional direction they choose to go. But I think everybody's heart is in the right place if they're involved in a program like this, and that's something that we're cognizant of.
Yeah. Getting corporate involvement, and first of all, I'm GreenTech HQ are delighted to be involved to understand and see what's happening in the world, and potentially be able to bring connections and bring funding and maybe investment to some of the entrepreneurs and some of the new companies. But getting corporate involvement in it, how difficult is it, or how involved do they want to get? And is there a greater chance that they'll want to get involved more now that they have their ESG credentials being challenged, and they'll need to actually get involved in let's say the whole area of ESG and the whole area of environmental governance, that they just need to get involved more than they have maybe in the past in this area? Is that how you're seeing it?
Well, it's how I'd like to see it. It's within the university sphere, there's this philosophy or notion of the third mission, where the university takes upon itself not just the mission to educate and to research, but also to amalgamate those ideas and interpret them in a world where we can engage with the outside world, with industry, with partners, to make those ideas real, right? And I think corporates need to recognize that there's a real value in a third mission for a corporate as well, and sometimes that takes the guise of a corporate venture department if the company is big enough, where a company will evaluate an investment decision traditionally based very much on the ROI to the business, which is the profit margin. But I think those evaluations need now to, as you mentioned, they need now to take into consideration ESG requirements and SDG goals as well. And the regulatory environment is becoming stricter and stricter, and very particular about how companies have to substantively demonstrate their environmental credentials, rather than just tacit lip service or superficial greenwashing ideas. There's a real sense of urgency now at the corporate level to do something, and to do something substantive. And from my perspective, if I'm pitching or selling this to a corporate partner, my line is pretty consistent. You need to be across the innovation landscape. You need to see what's going on, and you need to engage with it. You can't expect all of the innovation to come internally. Because most of the time, that's not the way your internal management or teams are structured. They're not given the leeway, and they don't have the agility to be as innovative as a startup might be externally. So that innovation landscape, we can bring that to a corporate. We can bring it to them. We can help and facilitate engagement with it. We're not going to tell or instruct anybody how they should manage those relationships, but they can make their own minds up as to who they ought to engage with. But for sure, I think it's worthwhile from a corporate perspective to be engaged in a sincere way with the innovation landscape and ecosystem, because that's the only way they're going to be able to change their practice as efficiently as they're going to need to.
Yeah, okay. No, look, it sounds good. It's great. I'm really looking forward to it, Breandán. I hope we can work well together to bring a whole new set of entrepreneurs and SMEs and help them scale and help them grow and help them develop, not only in the country of origin, but throughout Europe and further afield. So look, thank you very much for joining me for this chat. Appreciate it. And let's look forward to the Climate Accelerator.
Go market that.